Coming up next, it's the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime. WWE makes a substantial change to the wellness policy. They're also being investigated by the Connecticut Department of Labor. Your emails, fan of the week, top 5 hot news, viewer mail, and rebook. This Sunday's WWE Night of Champions on pay-per-view. Be the Booker returns on the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime.
And now, celebrating 13 years on the air, this is the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time with David Hero, Frank Cosentino, Linda Kay, the man they call Meathead, and Damian Nelson. All the latest from World Wrestling Entertainment, total nonstop action wrestling, and more. This is the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time for September 17, 2010. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Octavius, the Tiberius Hero. David, how are you this week?
I'm fabulous.
Fabulous?
Fabulous.
That is good to hear. Well, we have a lot to talk about, and it's all WWE skewed this week, but they really are making a lot of headlines. And our top story this week is WWE actually being investigated. Yes, indeed, it's been a subject of this show for several months, something we've talked about off and on, and now the state of Connecticut is also talking about it, and that is WWE's classification of their performers as independent contractors as opposed to employees. Let's go ahead and give you some of the baseline information here. World Wrestling Entertainment has confirmed that the company is being investigated for its classification of talent and workers as independent contractors. It's an audit being conducted by the Connecticut Department of Labor, which includes a review of WWE classifying wrestlers and TV production workers as independent contractors rather than employees. As a matter of fact, earlier in the year, President Obama stated that they were going to be clamping down on some of these classifications, and obviously Linda McMahon, running for Senate, her Democratic opponent, has brought this issue to light, which is what sort of brought this, as I said, up to the forefront. However, in addition to that, a Yale University professor of law had addressed the issue in depth during a Democratic-sponsored conference call. He called the classification of WWE wrestlers as independent contractors, quote-unquote, immoral, and stated he does not believe it would hold up in a court of law. David Hero, WWE had a response to this situation in these comments and the investigation. As a matter of fact, their spokesperson, Robert Zimmerman, said this, and I quote, WWE has always complied with the law. Up until this election, WWE has not been fined nor investigated in the past for independent contractor classification. However, curiously, the state of Connecticut is currently conducting an audit of WWE's classification of independent contractors. WWE constantly reviews its internal practices and procedures to comply with ever-changing employee laws. Zimmerman goes on to say the average WWE performer earns more than $550,000 annually, while only wrestling less than 3 days per week. WWE covers 100% of all costs associated with any ring-related injuries and rehabilitation. I'm going to repeat that last piece because I think that's one of the most significant things said by a WWE staffer in years. The average WWE performer earns more than $550,000 annually while only wrestling less than 3 days per week.
I believe that.
And WWE covers 100% of all costs associated with any in-ring related injuries and rehabilitation.
Do you know why I believe that number?
Why do you believe that?
When you have guys like Cena and Orton and Triple H making $5, 10, 15, $20 million a year, then you got someone else making like $125,000 a year, it all averages out.
Yeah, but it's a bit of a misappropriation of the numbers.
It's completely redonkulous, okay, of a number, because I know a bunch of those guys and they're not making $550 a year and they're average. Okay? But like I said, when you get a big payday like 10, 15, 20 million from one person, it's going to bring that number up.
Yeah.
I say you take off the top 5 guys, and then let's see what the average really is.
But to say they work only 3 days per week. Now, on average, that may be the case across the course of the year. But we know it's, on, let's say this week, for instance, Sunday night pay-per-view, Monday night Raw, house shows leading up to the pay-per-view. We're talking
Travel
5 days
days,
a week.
travel days,
Travel days.
yeah.
Those are days of work. it seems as if this spokesman for WWE almost diminished the contribution of their wrestlers.
This is all political.
Mhm.
This is all about trying to get some dirt on Linda Kay. And,
No. Linda McMahon. Linda Kay's on this show. There's no dirt on her. No skeletons in her closet.
Who knows?
I've checked.
You have checked her closet.
Mhm.
Did you find something you liked? Just asking. You brought up her closet. But I'm saying Linda McMahon. I'm talking about Linda Kay McMahon.
Yeah.
Yeah, Linda Kennedy.
Well,
McMahon.
clearly that's what this is all coming from. But David, this is something that truly I feel needs to be investigated. And has WWE done better over the course of the last few years in treating these independent contractors? Absolutely. Specifically, covering the cost of injuries, which was not always the case, covering the cost of rehabilitation, drug rehabilitation specifically, and even physical rehabilitation. But they still don't, I don't believe they do that in every single case at this point. And it certainly wasn't
Well,
the
they
way.
offer rehab to everybody who's ever worked for them.
But I mean, covering the cost of in-ring, well, I did say in-ring related injuries. But,
Well, here, if they're going to do this now with Vinnie Mac and company, then they better go down to Orlando and Nashville and check out TNA.
absolutely true.
Because they do the exact same thing.
The primary argument, the nexus, if you will, of the argument is when you're requiring people to dress a certain way, when you're requiring people to get authorization before doing work outside of their contract or their employee, if you will, in this case, when you're sending them out on junkets, if you will, you're sending them out on press gigs, you're sending them out on signings and to represent the company at things, whether it's paid or not. What is the difference between being an employee and being an independent contractor? Especially since you can't go seek work in most cases anywhere else.
It's a 1099. That's the difference.
No, it's 10-10-10.
No, that's something else.
Oh.
But, but come on. This has been going on since the beginning of the WWF.
Mm-hmm.
It's
The
just,
WWW.
Right. I mean, no one's really complaining. And if they are, once they get that first check, they don't care anymore.
Yeah. I mean, and really the biggest noise you ever heard as it pertains to this was Jesse Ventura back in the 80s as he tried to start a wrestling union. But isn't the first part of that is to be classified as employees? Now, WWE reaps great benefit from not classifying these people as employees. Because with that comes a lot of other things such as health care and things of that nature.
Well, who would want to find a healthcare company that would underwrite all those guys?
Right. What does UFC do? What do sports teams do? Are they contracted? I mean, obviously they're contracted, but are they employees?
They have unions.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
I don't know about UFC.
Yeah. I would imagine they're in the same situation. They're not being, well, they got some legal issues of their own. I mean, they can only go into certain parts of the country because they're banned in a lot of them. And that's actually, Wisconsin, no longer.
No
No longer banned as martial arts, mixed martial arts here in the state. David Harrell, should they be employees or independent contractors in your mind, a man who owns and runs wrestling shows regularly?
You're asking the wrong person then, because then they should be independent contractors.
Because it helps you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
From a human nature perspective.
I guess you gotta, weigh the pros and cons. You know who we should ask about? We gotta get Kevin Nash on the show. And we'll ask him about 1099s and independent contractors and whatever else. He's been very vocal about that.
And there are those people, and we talked about that in depthly this past Wednesday on 540 ESPN. If you didn't check out our live radio show, be sure to check it out on demand at pwrshow.com. But he is one of those smart people that doesn't just sign any piece of paper presented in front of him by WWE. He reads every
Or
line. And TNA, rather. He reads every line, and if he doesn't like it, he's questioning it. A lot of guys aren't doing that.
No, because
They
they're just
want that
happy to be
paper.
there.
They want the job, if you will. These things are not very favorable towards them. But again, the comments of the company are clear in their intention. But you can't defeat the Department of Labor. I mean, Vince McMahon has strutted out and said, "I even defeated the federal government." This could be tricky for WWE. It could change them forever. It could change the wrestling business, David, forever. At least on a national scale.
It may change their corporate tax exemptions,
Yeah,
but it's not going to change the in-ring talent.
true. True. But if you change the way WWE has to do business, you're in essence changing the company.
It's just unfortunate that a bunch of Democrats want to get involved in the wrestling business. Damian Nelson.
I'm an independent whip.
I'm not
I'm a
saying
member
you're
of the Tea Party.
anything. I'm just talking
Did
out
you see me at
loud.
Glenbeck's rally on Martin Luther King's Day? Anniversary?
No, I didn't.
I was
see
there.
you. Were you?
I was on stage briefing.
Yeah, you were holding up the sign saying "Down with Glenn Beck."
Actually, I have a ton of respect for Glenn Beck for what he did that weekend with that rally.
Mm-hmm.
Be that as it may. See, I don't just ride the party line there, David Hero.
I ride my own line.
You're going to ride your own line later tonight as
I'm
we
first.
return to be the booker for this Sunday's WWE Night of Champions on pay-per-view.
We're doing that again.
Well,
I'm
before
not,
every
I'm not
pay-per-view.
prepared.
You better get prepared. You got about 30 minutes to get ready.
I better call somebody.
You got your little marker there. You got your little moose in your hair.
Oh, this is my microphone. I'm talking into this so everyone can hear me nice and clear.
Let's go to Linda Kay.
And now it's time for our first viewer email. First email comes from Clark of St. Louis. Clark says, do you think when they unify both world titles at WrestleMania, they should bring back the original undisputed championship belt? I just loved the look of that belt. It had presence and class. It looked amazing on Lesnar. Or do you fear that the new belt will be another bling bling plastic toy? Now it's time to go over to our analysts, Mr. Damian Nelson and David Octavius Hero.
Thank you, Linda. And thank you, Clark from St. Louis. Green.
Shot. Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
You know, green is the color of kryptonite. Makes
Heard you
me-
encounter a little kryptonite earlier
Makes me
this
feel
week.
kind of weak sometimes, yeah.
Spin a web there or
I'm always spinning something.
something. Now, Clark is making an assumption here that they are going to unify the titles.
A kryptonite and a Clark reference?
Making a little bit of an assumption here that they are going to unify the titles at WrestleMania 27. We've seen the tag titles unified. We've seen, or will see
The
the
big
undefined
bronze
titles.
pennies? The
Yes.
big pennies?
Yeah. Unified come up this Sunday on WWE Night of Champions. The question is, which belt should be used? We've seen the spinner belt non-spinning for quite a while. We've seen the old belt that dates back to the NWA and the early days of wrestling used on the SmackDown side of things. David Hero, does it matter or does it not?
If they unify the belts, they're making a brand new one.
Yeah.
You know why? They can sell more replicas. You've seen the guys at the shows where they got a belt on each shoulder and one around their waist?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Those
so
things $200-$300 a pop?
easily.
Yeah.
So you got to figure they're going to make another one because why would Vinnie Mac want to have something that's not his own creation?
Good point. Do I fear that it will be another bling bling plastic toy?
Well, it will be a plastic toy coming soon to any Toys R Us or Target or Walmart near you.
Right next to all the Cody Rhodes action figures.
Yeah, because those aren't selling.
Thank you for that email, Clark from St. Louis.
And now for this week's hot news.
Caliente.
Roderick Strong captured the Ring of Honor Championship from Tyler Black at Glory by Honor. Black is headed to the WWE. Matt Hardy was pulled from scheduled WWE appearances, and in response to Paul London's remarks, the current Wrestlelicious champion, along with a WWE SmackDown star, shares their opinions on WWE NXT. Ousted NXT rookie diva disputes escort rumors. Former WWE star arrested on drug possession charges. Sad news, as Mike Bastion Booger Shaw died last week of a heart attack. Will a major WWE star miss Raw on Monday? We have the latest on Team 3D's future with TNA. And finally, Hulk Hogan is pitching a court-based TV show to TV networks. That ought to be interesting. Get all the details on these stories and more at pwrshow.com right now. Listen to this week's PWR on ESPN Radio on Demand at pwrshow.com. We discuss all of this week's wrestling TV shows, phone calls from France and India, and our thoughts on Michael Cole. Catch it now at pwrshow.com.
Well, it's time to go in-depth, ladies and gentlemen, and this week we're going to go in-depth on a story that broke just a couple of days ago, Similar in lines to the story of earlier, our top story, WWE making a policy change, and that to their wellness policy, banning a very popular drug that is prescribed very regularly, that drug being Caresprodol, otherwise known as Somas. WWE talents can't use the drug even with a doctor's prescription. Period. Banned. Cannot use it. It is very popular with some of the talents. It's probably one of the most significant changes to the policy since it began. Jim Ross had some comments on this change, actually. Jim Ross, the man who used to head talent relations for WWE, said this: "I think it's a great idea. Too many wrestlers took or take somas recreationally, much like wrestlers used to smoke weed in the 70s. Prescription pill abuse is a huge enemy of all the wrestlers who abuse them. Pain medicine, somas, Ambien, and Xanax are an evil mixture, especially when mixed with alcohol and taken in excess." Now, obviously, you got the situation going on with Jeff Hardy. You got the situation going on with Jim Neidhart. Those drugs named, I believe, in both those
60%
situations.
of the locker room takes somas. And I'm being conservative.
Mhm. Was this the right move by WWE?
It's a way of getting them to distance themselves from future problems.
So much like the story earlier, is this more political than actual?
Absolutely, because now they can say, look, we're doing our part to get, to try to solve this problem. But they're not solving the problem, because if it's not somas, it'll be Percocets. If it's not Percocets, it'll be Oxycontin. If it's not Oxycontin, it'll be something else.
Well, JR named several drugs in his comments about it, and it wasn't just Soma. It was, as you said, pain medicines, Ambien, Xanax, especially, and I think that's key, taken in excess and when mixed with alcohol. Drug dependency is a huge problem in this country. And it is a huge problem, I would say, across all entertainment companies. And WWE taking a firm stance against their independent contractors and banning these substances, even when prescribed by a doctor.
Okay. When you hire independent contractors, they still have rules and regulations they got to follow because they're representing your company.
Right.
Okay? So you hire independent contractors and say, hey, listen, you can't do this, you can't do this, and you can't do that. You have that right. They can choose to not sign that contract.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct.
So I think I applaud them for wiping out somas, but I highly doubt there's a whole bunch of toilets flushing right now in Titan Towers. No one's getting rid of them.
Well, part of the whole wellness policy is you got to find it, and then you got to enforce it, and you got to enforce it consistently. But this update to the wellness policy comes on the heels of a lot of situations in the business or surrounding the business. You got the passing of Luna Vachon. You've got, obviously the passing of escapes me, Umaga earlier this year. You've got, as I said, the Hardy situation. You've got the
Jim Neidhart
situation. So
Lance Cade.
Yeah, they're trying to show themselves with a crystal clean image on a week where Maurice is in Playboy again.
Isn't that amazing?
Why haven't we heard about that? Remember, we used to have the big unveils with pyro.
I wonder how many parties are going off in Dallas, Texas right now about Maurice being the Cyber Club Playboy.
Same thing Tracy Brooks was, right?
Yes, she was.
Haven't heard about it at all. That's not going to make it in WWE magazine, is it?
No.
I believe those images can be seen in their cleanest state at pwrshow.com as well.
Or on
And,
Meathead's laptop, one of the two.
That you mean his laptop computer?
Which is on his laptop, yeah. Absolutely.
Good move, bad move by WWE, this update to the wellness policy.
It's a great move. You know what? And it's important. But don't you think what they need to do is educate these guys? Maybe before TV, they sit them down in a room and they have a meeting, and maybe they just talk about it and show them the pros and the cons, how to do things the right way, instead of just, winding up all these young stars and putting them out on the road and letting them learn for themselves. The NFL has that rookie camp, and so does the NBA, and just it talks to them about not having, all these different wives on the road, and you wind up with like 10 or 12 kids and drugs. Yeah, Do
you think they're doing that at FCW? For anybody who comes up through there?
I doubt it.
Or they're focusing more on how to cut a promo?
They're working on doing moonsaults in FCW.
Okay. Well, we would love to hear your thoughts on both our top story and this in-depth story about WWE's classification of independent workers versus employees, and also this recent update to the wellness policy. And we'll go ahead and read those comments and reply to your comments as you send them to us. So now it is time to go to this week's Top 5.
Hi kids, Uncle Meathead here. It's time for this week's Top 5.
That's a little scary.
You're not supposed to be talking when I'm doing this. Number 5 in the Meathead's Top 5, brought to you by Lobster Cola and the Nebraska Ski Council. Check them out on the web. Number 5 will go out to AJ Styles, once again doing phenomenal work in TNA. Number 4 is the tag team of the Hart Dynasty. Now, you're saying to yourself, Uncle Meathead, didn't they get owned by one guy? Well, yes, they did. But they showed up on TV, so therefore... And let me sidebar here. What is the purpose, if it's a 2-on-1 handicap match, what is the purpose of one guy getting up and leaving out of the cage to leave his partner there wrestle 1-on-1? I just don't get it. But number 3, the man that was in that cage match with the Hart Dynasty, the man that is best in the world at what he does, Chris Jericho. Is it the last time we've seen him on WWE TV? Until he comes back again? Possible. Number 2 is the co-tag team champions, or excuse me, not tag team champions, women's champion, or half a women's champion. It's Michelle McCool and Layla Cool. That's number 2. And number 1 in this week's Top 5, man that is, if you asked me if he was number 1, 2, or 3 in my top 3 of announcers, I'd tell you he was 5. But this week he is number 1 on the top 5. Michael Cole, you have gotten up and grown a set. Welcome to the top 5.
This week's Fan of the Week is Benjamin Ananson. Benjamin says, so with the huge face push that Orton has gotten over the last couple of months, who do you see him battling in the future? Interesting. David?
David, Fan of the Week. I like this part. Last Monday on the radio show, we had callers from Paris, France, and even India. We're internationally known. We're also known to rock a microphone.
Yes, we are. Want the microphone?
That's a marker. Benjamin, who's next for Randy Orton? Maybe you'll book it later in the Be the Booker segment.
Who does Randy Orton need next?
Randy Orton, good guy, Miz, bad guy.
No, not yet. That's down the road. I think Randy Orton...
I don't even know if I'm intrigued by that, by those two.
Not yet, because it's like...
There we go.
it's like G.I. Joe versus Barney Rubble.
Who's Barney?
The Miz.
Really?
He's kind of cartoonish. The way it's written right now is the Miz would get killed by Randy Orton.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So that's why I'm going to G.I. Joe Barney Rubble.
So who that? Who should it be?
I think you should go into Program and Nexus.
The whole thing? Get rid of them? Ship them down to FCW?
Oh, no, because right now, Randy Orton needs heels that he hasn't worked with before, and that can be just non-stop coming at him. Or it could be someone different every week.
Mm-hmm.
And Nexus is that group.
All right. Benjamin, our Fan of the Week, thank you very much. You too can be considered to be Fan of the Week. All you need to do is send us an email via the comments or contact us link at pwrshow.com. Send us an email. We will select some of those emails each week to read on air, and you too could be Fan of the Week.
Ten best WCW moments. You've seen number 10, you've seen number 9. Now I'm going to bring you number 8. It was May, don't ask me the date, but it was the day after the Over the Edge, 1999. It was the main event on Monday Nitro. Chris Benoit versus Bret the Hitman Hart in tribute to Owen Hart, who had just passed away the night before in a terrible accident at WWF's Over the Edge pay-per-view. I believe it was in Kansas City. If I'm wrong, you'll correct me. could have been St. Louis. But what an amazing match. What an amazing handling of the situation by Chris Benoit and Bret Hart. Number 8 in the 10 best WCW moments of all time, the main event match from WCW Monday Nitro, the night after Owen Hart passed away.
The Pro Wrestling Report is pleased to announce we are now available on TiVo. TiVo users can now catch the Pro Wrestling Report each and every week on TiVo. Thank you for watching and for your continued support.
Well, David Hero, it's probably the most popular segment we have now here on PWR Primetime. Be the Booker, and that is you.
More popular than the Linda K segments?
A little bit, just slightly. Just slightly.
I'm flattered.
There are no pigeons, but...
No, there are not.
And this Sunday night on pay-per-view, it's WWE's Night of Champions. And as you heard before, we're going to be live from the Allstate Arena, bringing you the full wrap-up of that show this Sunday night. And now, in this segment, we take a look at how the show might be, or how the show should be booked. And then we get to compare notes after Sunday as to how it actually happens. Most of the matchups are championship matchups. Belts are on the line. At least one title will be unified. But first, David Hero, let's talk about that Intercontinental Championship matchup. Dolph Ziggler, the champion, versus Kofi Kingston.
Well, first, let's make one thing very clear. This show is EPO.
EPO again? All right.
I don't
People were very entertained by the no surrender, P. the Booker.
I don't want people to feel they can call it Vegas and make money on my picks. Okay?
Unless they're cutting you in on it.
Absolutely. IC title match.
We've
Dolph
seen this
Ziggler.
match series for a while. As a matter of fact, at the last WWE pay-per-view, that was the match in which Nexus ran in and caused a no-finish.
Dolph Ziggler. Has there ever been a more lackluster IC champion?
Best bumper in the business. One of the most
No.
athletic individuals.
I'm saying, but-
extremely talented.
When you think who's the IC champ, Dolph Ziggler doesn't always pop in. He's not the guy you think of right away.
True. Well, it is over on that other show.
Yeah. And Kofi Kingston.
Boop, boop, boop.
I like Dolph Ziggler in this match for one reason. He's going to have the girl from Nexus with him
Mm-hmm.
and Vicky Guerrero.
Ah, yes. Excuse her.
Yes. I think what makes sense is for Dolph Ziggler to finally get that big, meaningful pay-per-view win, which he has yet to really have.
To give him a bit of a base, establish him, if you will.
Make him a strong champion. And I hope he beats Kofi clean. Because this way, let Kofi go off and do something else. Because these two guys, as athletic as they both are,
Yeah.
it's getting kind of wore out.
Speaking of wore out, we've seen this match so many times over the last few weeks on WWE SmackDown. Does it have any significance Sunday night on Night of Champions?
It has significance if it's a clean win by Dolph Ziggler so that he can go into a program with somebody else on the SmackDown brand.
In the system, in the
You
program?
have to end the program here.
Can you do so with Kofi winning the belt? Dolph
Well,
hops
if,
back into obscurity.
no, because if Kofi wins, well, then he gets a rematch, and then he'll chase. Well, it has to go that way.
Yeah.
And then he'll chase Kofi for another month or so, and by then the fans are going to be burnt out. My pick, Dolph Ziggler.
Ziggler wins the Intercontinental Championship. You say that should be clean. You should write that
It should
down.
be.
It should be clean.
Because they got to end the feud because it's really going nowhere.
End the feud.
Yes.
Ever watch Police Academy?
Yes, I have.
Which one was it where he was writing on the chalkboard, he was saying the words all drawn out? Was either Harris or Mauser? Who was better, Harris or Mauser?
Mauser.
Harris.
Why'd you ask me?
Dolph Ziggler. The DHHS for EPO says Dolph Ziggler wins and retains the Intercontinental Championship this Sunday at Night of Champions. Next matchup is for the unification of the Ladies Championship. And it will be Michelle McCool, we find out on SmackDown, against Melina. Melina coming back and challenging for the title. The title held by Lay Cool right now. Dual Ladies Champions, or Dual Divas Champions. The belts become one.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday night at Night of Champions.
I don't think it really makes a difference who's going to win this match because the real story coming out of this is going to be Layla and McCool having a falling out.
Really?
Because
Pillow fight?
It could be
Puppies,
because
pigeons, all kinds of birds and dogs.
the finish could be one of two ways. Layla will get involved in this match.
She has to.
And either she's going to help McCool win or she's going to help McCool lose. And at the end of the night, what's going to happen is let's say McCool has both titles. Well, now Layla is going to say, hey, I helped you. I want half of that title now.
So you're saying no unification?
Well, no, there'll be a unification. But maybe now they'll both have half of the unified belt. Or they'll start a feud over it. I don't think having Undertaker's girlfriend on SmackDown, she's going to want to have the title. I don't think it's going to mean anything more if Melina has it than if these two have it. Because
Does it mean anything at all no matter who
no,
has
it doesn't. But
Here's the thing.
here's the thing: if I'm writing this,
Which you are right now.
I'm going to pick McCool. Not because I like McCool more than Melina. I think Melina is a far superior wrestler. But I think they can do more things with the belt with McCool and Layla
Down the road.
than they can with Melina and whoever else they want to pair her up with.
As you talk about down the road, it's important to point out some things that are going to happen going into WWE's next pay-per-view, and we'll do that after we get through our next matchup here. You're saying Michelle McCool walks out still the champion.
Yes.
The undefined ladies champion.
Undefined.
Undefined.
In honor of Alicia Foxy.
Don't you think Melina has to win from a fan's point of view, though?
When do they book things for the fans' point of view?
Sorry about that.
But seriously, think about it. If Melina wins, great. Now she's going to feud it with them, maybe, even though they're on different brands.
Yeah.
But now you can have a whole new series of matches. Not saying they would be great matches, but I think Layla has come a long way in the past year, and I think Layla and McCool can actually do some cool things. No pun intended.
Next matchup this Sunday, WWE Night of Champions. It's for the World Heavyweight Championship. David Hero, actually, it is a no-holds-barred match. Just so you know. No-holds-barred between Kane and The Undertaker.
Wait, no holds barred, does that mean Zeus is the special guest referee?
Rip 'em. Undertaker versus Kane, the World Heavyweight Championship on the line on the SmackDown side of things. As you know, Kane, the man who attacked Undertaker, put him in a vegetative state. That's where we started to take us to this moment, this night. No doubt about it, Kane wins that matchup. Kane retains the World Heavyweight Championship.
Well, here's why. If he's truly in a vegetative state, he's still not healthy enough.
Still a little loopy.
And when was the last time Kane has beaten The Undertaker? In a meaningful match.
Did Kane ever beat The Undertaker?
I
When I
don't-
say that, I mean during their long programs, of which they've had many. It
I
seemed
don't
like The
think they
Undertaker
have.
always won.
So, I think he's due. And here's what it is. Hell in the Cell, next month. Right? Why would Kane challenge Taker to a Hell in a Cell match?
Here's why. Taker wins. Kane wants his rematch, which you talked about earlier with Ziggler and Kingston. Kane says, I want to prove to you not only I can beat you, but I can beat you in your match, the Hell in a Cell,
He
and
didn't
take
beat
my
him
title
there.
back.
No. Kane wins, and then Taker will challenge him to a Hell in a Cell match. Who knows? Maybe he puts his career on line against the title. And that might be enough to get Kane to agree to a Hell in a Cell match. You don't like it, huh?
I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm just trying to
Here's the
align my thinking with yours.
Here's the scary thing, though. Heel, heel, heel. We have yet to have a babyface win yet on this pay-per-view on Night of Champions.
There might be another match added for the Tag Team Championship, skewing on the SmackDown side of things as well. As of this taping, the match not announced, but the Hart Dynasty may take on Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. In that matchup, that would round out the SmackDown into things, and you would have to imagine that maybe Drew and Cody would win because, well, they sort of need something to solidify them as a tag team.
No, they
Of
will
course
not win.
Of course.
Because the Hart Dynasty they're going to start to rebuild them and get them some steam. I think if that match were to happen, Cody and Drew McIntyre would eventually feud against each other.
All right. Ziggler, McCool, and Kane. David Hero has picked in the first 3 matchups as we book Night of Champions, at least from David Hero's point of view, a DHHS EPO kind of thing. What's important to note about Night of Champions is as we go through these last series of matchups, WWE goes to Indianapolis on Monday night from Chicago's Allstate Arena, and they will be taping both episodes of Raw. One will be live, obviously. They'll be taping the other episode of Raw leading into WWE's Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, which is October 3rd. Only 2 weeks' time between Night of Champions and Hell in a Cell, so things are going to become very obvious come Monday night's Raw, where we're going from there. Will it be Kane versus Taker at Hell in a Cell? Seems to make some sense. What's going to happen in that six-pack challenge? Who will walk out the Intercontinental Championship? Will there be drama between Michelle McCool and Layla? And will we see the tag team titles defended? All to be decided this Sunday at WWE's Night of Champions pay-per-view. David Hero, so many more matches to talk about. And I think these are huge marquee-style matchups coming up Sunday night at Night of Champions. And the first of which to discuss is for the United States Championship. It is The Miz, who is awesome, going up against Daniel Bryan Danielson. There's a lot of D's and A's and N's in there.
That's his name, right? I forgot which one he goes by right now.
Daniel Bryan in the E.
Ah, okay.
You know, they got to own stuff. We talked
Sure,
about that earlier,
sure,
the whole independent contractor thing.
Yeah. This match could be match of the night.
Really?
Absolutely.
Saying that because JR said it, or?
No. JR said it?
JR said it. I'm just saying. Just
I
throwing that
think
out there.
Because he's phenomenal anyhow. He's
Think-
going to be great. He's on his way to becoming more awesome than I thought he could be.
Including on its way to headlining WrestleMania 27. Can we
No.
retract those comments of last week? No?
No. This match could go so many different ways if I was booking it.
How should it go?
How should it go?
You have a lot of options, I think, is what you're saying.
There's
because
so
both
many
men are
options.
strong. And a loss wouldn't necessarily damage either of them beyond repair.
See, if The Miz loses, he still has the briefcase.
Mm-hmm. Ah, good point.
Okay?
Yeah.
So it's not that he needs the U.S. title right now
He can
because,
now focus.
well, but he could also, let's say he loses the title to Daniel
I
Bryan,
think I hear where you're going.
okay?
Yeah.
And then, what's his rookie's name?
Alex Riley.
Alex Riley. Somehow they beat him down afterwards and
Uh-huh.
he grabs the briefcase and cashes it in.
But it's for a world championship.
No, it's for
WWE.
any title
All
match.
right, okay. But why would you waste it on a U.S. title?
Well, right. I'm saying that could happen, but it probably would not because that would make him look really stupid. But let's not forget, this is the World Wrestling Entertainment.
Yeah.
I need my money marker.
Here comes the money.
Daniel Bryan.
Really? This is
Yes.
happening right before my eyes
Yes.
here? Really?
Daniel Bryan is going to leave the WWE US champion.
Really?
He's going to make him tap. It'll be tap, tap, tap.
I don't think so, dude.
No?
I don't think so.
You think The Miz is going to beat Daniel Bryan?
What do you say The Miz has right now behind him? That rocket.
Okay. Yeah, he does.
I don't see the sense in Daniel
But
Bryan
that's
winning.
why I'm booking this, and you're not.
All right, so if that's what you would do, what will you do on Sunday
I'm not done yet. We've still got more stuff to figure out.
for this particular match?
What do you mean?
If this is the way you would make it happen,
Yeah.
tap, tap, tap for The Miz,
Yeah.
which I don't think will hurt him. I think it could actually enhance him, but I don't think
When
that's the
has
way it's gonna
Daniel
go.
Bryan ever pinned anybody?
Oh,
You
he's
don't-
won matches.
Well, right, but I'm just saying.
Significant wins.
He's going to make him tap. No question.
What will we see, though, on Sunday?
I'm telling you, Daniel Bryan, the new United
That's your
States.
prediction and your booking.
Yes.
All right. I completely disagree.
Well, that's fine. You can disagree all you want.
I'm just saying. You know,
Is the
I got
fact-
markers, too.
Can I have my towel, please? Champ?
How did we switch sides? What happened?
I don't know. Funny guy.
Daniel Bryan, really. I look down the road, though, David, and I see much more upside in The Miz than I do Daniel Bryan Danielson.
Okay. We got Chris Jericho.
Oh, clearly you're done. Well, you skipped a match.
Which one did I skip?
You didn't actually. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
see?
had an
Wise
extra bunch
guy?
written on here. It's a six-man elimination matchup. It is a six-pack challenge, and as I said, it is elimination. It is Sheamus, the WWE champion, defending his title against 5 different opponents, and they are Chris Jericho, Edge, Randy Orton, John Cena, and the Nexus is Wade Barrett. This one is hopefully going to be given some time. It's going to be entertaining. We know Jericho has said that if he does not win this matchup, he will leave WWE. There are so many different parameters that could come into play in this matchup, including several names who we've seen prominently featured on Raw recently, last week and week before last, and I think they might play a factor in this matchup, David.
Let's not forget Sheamus is the champ.
Yes.
Okay.
Which means he should enter at what point in the entrance sequences? Champion always enters,
Well,
Should
he
always
should enter last.
always should enter.
But you know it'll be Cena or Orton. Sheamus will probably come out first.
It's a shame.
I don't know how these guys are going to be eliminated.
Can we do Final 4, then Final 2?
Sure, we can do Final 4.
Cleans it up a little bit?
So, Final 4, that means we got to get rid of 2 guys, huh?
Yes. This
Edge-
match has power in it, though, by the way.
It does.
This match is blockbuster star power matchup. Edge, you cross out first.
Edge is gone. Barrett's going to be gone.
Really? Your guy?
As much as I would love to see Barrett in the Final 2,
Yeah.
I don't see it happening.
How? You care to speculate on how Barrett might be gone? Remember Darren Young back? We really haven't seen the end of that or anything happen with that since he made his surprising
I
return on
think
Raw.
Chris Jericho eliminates his boy Barrett.
In a hey, I told you so moment?
Yeah.
There, I showed you moment?
Or Randy Orton. It'll be either Jericho or Orton are going to eliminate Barrett because then the Nexus can then chase after Randy Orton, which would make sense. So, and honestly, these are perhaps the 2 weakest guys in the 6-pack match. Just because,
Oh, yeah, you're right.
just because Jericho is so good at so many other things.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're down to the Final 4. We got Sheamus and Cena and Orton and Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It's tricky, isn't it?
It is very tricky.
4 strong guys, probably 4 of the top 10 guys in WWE right now.
Now let's keep in mind, John Cena has already retired Chris Jericho once. So if Jericho truly is going to be on his way out, one of the top guys has to beat him. Cena or Orton. It doesn't mean anything if Sheamus does because it has to be one of the baby faces.
Okay.
So, what's going to wind up happening is Jericho is going to be eliminated. So now we're down to the last 3.
But that also means Jericho's gone from the in storyline reasons.
Right. So now we got Sheamus, Cena, and Randy Orton.
Power. Still a great set of names on that match.
What I would like to see happen in a perfect world
Mm-hmm.
is Sheamus and Randy Orton work over John Cena.
Form a little bit of an alliance, if not
Well,
temporarily.
because here's why. Because Randy Orton's going to get one of the biggest babyface pops, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is Cena and so is Sheamus. But if they truly want to make Cena the babyface of this match, these 2 have to work together to try to take him out. Okay? So,
But we all know Super Cena can overcome those odds for sure.
could be. But Cena,
What? What is happening here?
Cena's going to be out.
Really?
The last 2 guys will be Sheamus and Randy Orton. Now let's
Really?
let's not forget, Sheamus and Randy Orton have had what, 2, 3 matches?
Yeah.
Really have been undecisive, haven't
Mhm.
they?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the luck of the Irish, Sheamus is going to beat Randy Orton.
Sheamus overcomes all these odds.
Going to overcome all these odds, except for one very small odd.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you might get a kick out of this one.
As I get a kick out of you.
You got to
Tribute
figure,
to Ted DiBiase.
he wins,
Yeah.
screw job finish, Randy Orton, RKO. to end the match
Okay.
after Sheamus wins. Which then allows the guy that just lost the U.S. title
Cash it in!
to cash
Cash it in, Miz!
his money
Cash
in the
it
bank
in!
against Sheamus. And could
Miz walks out, money in the bank.
and he could leave. He should. If I was booking it, he would leave Night of Champions as the champion.
Which is the reason he would lose earlier on.
Absolutely.
And, no?
Oh, you're smiling.
If Miz were not to cash it in this scenario, what scenarios are out there? Because you've got whoever comes out of this match on
If
top, if it's
Daniel
Sheamus or anybody
Bryan
else.
Danielson beats The Miz,
Done deal? That's
Would-
not EPO, that's DHHS?
I'd be real close to putting the DHHS on that.
If Daniel Bryan takes Ohio,
Yes.
then the Miz will take presidency.
You like that, don't you?
I like it. I like it. I like it. It makes. Here's the thing, though. God, I hate that I'm saying that. It takes. Again, it's that end moment. Are people going to be happy with Sheamus winning? This has got to be the main event, the headlining main event.
Yes.
People will not be happy with Sheamus winning.
No.
Something's got to
but
happen.
they
But the
will
Miz
be
they
happy.
hate, but they love.
Yes.
The Miz, the Miz,
And, you know, honestly,
WWE champion.
These guys here, it can go in any order. I mean, Cena could win. He could beat Orton. I mean, at the end of the night, if they're smart, and that champion is laid out after a brutal six-pack challenge,
Mhm.
The Miz better cash it in.
Only if he loses does that make sense, though. The Miz.
Only, yes.
Now here's the thing, and here's the question rather. What if they hot-shotted it? What if they took Sheamus out early in the matchup? Somebody's going to be a new champion. We've seen it a couple times
Yeah,
before.
but I think they need to keep him in there until the end.
Okay.
And God, if Miz does leave as the champion, and this is my idea, too.
Right.
How painful is that
But you're making the right decision for them.
for the people? Yeah,
The
exactly.
millions.
And millions. Yeah.
Care to stamp this? Care to approve it?
You know what? Absolutely.
Not this match, but the overall pay-per-view, and we'll refresh and reset, if you will. Ziggler over Kingston for the Intercontinental Championship. Daniel Bryan becomes the new United States champion, according to David Hero. Michelle McCool and Layla walk out some form, together or apart, as champions. Kane retains his World Heavyweight Championship, and Sheamus also retains his championship, only to lose it to The Miz.
I'm done.
This Sunday night, WWE Night of Champions on pay-per-view. As I said before, we will be with you live right after the pay-per-view goes off the air. We'll be coming to you live from the Allstate Arena in Chicago. We're going to be in attendance at that event, and be sure to tune in for that. We'll be taking your live phone calls. I'm not sure if we'll get IC London, IC France.
You might see something down there.
So be sure to tune into that on Sunday. And we'll be back with a brand new episode of the Pro Wrestling Report Radio on ESPN Radio this Wednesday night, and a brand new edition of PWR Primetime next Friday night. So for David Hero, the Meathead, the Kaz, Linda Kay, Stevie Nelson saying thank you for tuning in to the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime TV.